Recording.
Recording.
Yes.
All right, Sheila.
Okay. I just want to say happy Friday, everybody. Of course, faces, even if it is virtual. I am so glad that we're here because COVID-19 has for all of us. And so I can't wait until we get back to a time and place where we can actually see each other in person. But for now, this is the way that we're operating. So before we begin, I'd like to say not only welcome back, but also like to give a heartfelt thank you to everyone that have reached out to me. Many of you all know that my brother was tragically, I hate to say killed, murdered, whatever the case may be, but he's no longer with us because of an accident that occurred over the summer. And so I appreciate every text, call, email, card, message, whatever. I truly appreciate it all. I haven't even gotten around to sending out all the thank yous, but I want you to know that from me and my family, thank you so much. We appreciate it all. Please continue to keep us in prayer along with his 3 children that are still here. One of his sons passed away when he was about 2 years ago, about 20 something years ago. And so thank you so much for that. The other piece I'd like to speak to very high level because like I said, during COVID-19, we were communicating via email and we were trying to get as much business done as we possibly could. So in regards to COVID-19, one of the things that we know for sure as the Municipal Council, it brought a severe blow to the businesses or organizations that we are responsible to assist, right? And so one of the things we know for sure that the data shows within our community is that businesses that we serve or are have the pleasure of trying to serve, they were impacted severely. One of the things that we know for sure is that minority-owned businesses tend to face several underlying issues. Many of them, or the top 2, include the lack of access to capital, and then what we know for sure is they are likely to be concentrated in industries that are immediately affected by COVID-19 or the pandemic. And so our goal as the NBC is to continue to ensure that these businesses succeed as they are vital to the communities in which we live. And so our effort has been twofold. Number one, to continue to share critical resources that may provide some relief, such as grants or loans. And then the second piece is to continue to advocate for policies that are more inclusive and support the growth of minority businesses. The second piece here I just wanted to speak to was the social justice issue. Since COVID-19, I know everyone is aware of the George Floyd incident. And so many of you all I spoke to, reached out to me or whatever the case may be, and we did post a statement. And so I just want to reiterate at this particular point that we as the NBC are still heartbroken of the senseless murder of George Floyd and many others that have been taken by senseless police brutality. And so one of the things I always try to go back to is to just share that, Dr. King's statement, one of the things that he shared was that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And one thing we know for sure is their lives matter, Black lives matter. And then the third piece that I want to share before we move into the meeting is the new city manager, Mr. Patrick Dehaney. I believe that's the correct way to pronounce his name. And I know many of you have seen his credentials thus far. I mean, he just seems to be an amazing individual. We look forward to the great things that he will bring from his previous experience to the city of Virginia Beach. And we, of course, as a minority business council, we look forward to meeting with him and continue to move the needle. And with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and move into the approval of the minutes. Laverne, did you have an opportunity, I guess, did everyone have an opportunity to review the February minutes?
Madam Chair, may I call the roll?
Yes, yes, you can.
Before that, thank you. When I call your name, just say present. Clarence Neely,
Present.
and you will have to unmute yourself to do so, but please put yourself back on mute once you say that. Colleen Nabhan,
Present.
Damon Watson. Damon Watson.
Present. Hopefully you can hear me. Present.
Yes, we heard you that time. Ed Hopper. Ed Hopper. Francis Knight Thompson.
Present.
Francina Harrison.
Present.
Harshad Barat. Harshad Barat. Kelvin Arthur. Kelvin Arthur. Olga Torres.
Present.
Ron Lewis. Ron Lewis. And Sheila Johnson.
Present. And
Thank you.
I did see some of the members are trying to get in, Lavera, so I guess we'll log them once they do. Kelvin is trying to unmute at this point. Lavera.
Okay, I will see if I can find his name and unmute him.
Okay.
No, I do not see him, but we'll come back to that if you want to go ahead and move forward. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. So is this the point where we can move for approval of the minutes?
Yes.
I think you'll have to do one by one, Lavera.
If someone will say, I move that we approve the minutes, and someone else will say, I second, please.
I move that we approve the minutes.
This is Olga. I second.
And as soon as Lavera writes down her notes on who made the motion and second, she'll begin the roll call vote.
Okay, thank you.
Lavera, you know you're muted.
I apologize. Adobe just doesn't like me for some reason. Okay, roll call vote. Clarence Neely.
Yay. Can you hear me?
Yes, Colleen
Okay.
Nabhan.
Approved. Yay.
David Watson.
Approve. Yay.
Mrs. Thompson.
Approve. Yay.
Francina Harrison. Francina Harrison.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Approve. Aye. Yay.
Olga Torres.
Approve. Yay.
Sheila Johnson.
Approve, yay.
Thank you.
Is that it for the minutes? That's what you need, Lavera? We're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, the next piece on the agenda is Industry Hour. And so we'll have Oracle Financials, Supplier Portal, Stacy O of the City of Virginia Beach.
Yes, Stacy Orlowski.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Stacy Orlowski, or Stacy O. I'll take that as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me to this meeting to talk to y'all about the supplier portal and show you what we've been working on. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so you can see how the suppliers are seeing our data that we're putting out there as it relates to getting them into our system. So I just went to our normal VB.gov site, and there's a couple ways, but the easiest way for a supplier to find us, Supplier Portal. So we've been advertising it as, they can search it. There's actually a URL that we have on a lot of the emails going out that is linked to that site, to those words, Supplier Portal. So when they go there, this is what they'll see, the supplier services page. And there's a lot of data out here. I'm not going to go into all the different kinds of data. But if they're looking to do business with the city for the first time and they're not already in our portal, they're going to go to register as a supplier. And it talks to them about what they need before they start this process, kind of what documentations, what things might they need to have handy for themselves, and then what the steps may look like for them afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and click register as a supplier, and it will actually take us into our new Oracle Financials Cloud system. And they start entering in their data. And I'm just going to go ahead and enter in some testing data just so you can see the fields. So they have choices. We're going to pick to be determined. Maybe I don't know if I'm going to be a sole proprietor or a partnership or an LLC yet. I'm going to put in contact information for myself. And I don't think I typed that correctly. And see, it noticed that. It said, hey, it doesn't look right. So it does help them along. And I'm working at a desk that's not mine, so I apologize. They're going to need to put their taxpayer ID information in here. Or if they're a sole proprietor, it would be their social security number. I'm just making one up. And they're going to say next, so they're going to go on to the next screen and give us additional data. This is their contact information, and they can add everybody that they need to add, or if it's just themselves, they can add more information, job titles, websites, any of that information, emails, phone numbers, and that we want a user account. And then they'll add an address because we need to know where to mail things to if we need to mail it. And we have a supplier guide out there on the VB.gov site that helps walk them through all of these steps. We're going to be working on getting some videos together. So it actually will do a video of this process for them. Some people like the written material, some people need that video. It just really depends. And I want it for all of these purposes. And I'm going to say, okay. And I can keep adding addresses as a supplier. And then this is where I'm going to identify whether my business is a small woman, minority-owned, service-disabled veteran, any of that. And if none of them apply, I would check the box. If something applies, I'm going to click the plus to add. And it actually tells them up here what they need to do. They have these different options to choose from. We'll say small just so you can see. Then these other areas open up. They're not required, but I can enter the data if I have it. I can enter an attachment or any kind of note. If I have additional classifications, I would hit the plus again, and I would add the next classification, so woman-owned, and so on and so forth, and continue on until I've entered all of the classifications that my business meets. Then I'll say next. And then this is where I would decide which kind of commodity does my company provide. This is probably one of the harder areas. They would have to go to products, and then they would have to pick from one of these options or multiples if they provide multiple areas. So let's say I provide air compressors and air conditioning. So I could click all of them if I wanted to, or I could click one or two of them. Let's say I also provide art equipment. I don't know why I would provide air compressors and art equipment, but maybe I do. And then anytime somebody that is doing a solicitation is looking for a supplier in that category, they'll see my company's name. They'll see my company's information. And then I can review my information, and then I can register. When I register, it comes to central purchasing. And it is reviewed just to make sure that there's no data missing. Maybe somebody didn't put their business classification. We want you to do that. You didn't put your products and services. We want you to do that. We want you to try to complete this to the best of your ability. And then we'd approve it. And now your information is now in our vendor system as a prospective supplier. So that is the process for a new company or a new company doing business with the city. Maybe they're not a new company, but they're new to doing business with the city. They could come here and register their company and get their information put in the system based on what they enter. Okay. So it says it was submitted. And I receive an email after it's been reviewed telling me that it's been approved. Okay. Do we want questions of you?
Thank you, Stacy. Yes, Sheila, at this time, if anyone has any questions,
I do.
I believe Rebecca's on the line as well, and she can answer any questions that you may have as well. Rebecca, I will unmute you at this time.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Lavera. And I do see that Francina has a question. I have one as well. And so do you want me to just recognize her?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
Francina?
Sure. Hopefully I raised my hand in here, so I don't know if that came up at all so they can see it. But yeah, the question I have for this new portal, which looks great. So is this, if for small businesses that need to do this for the city of Virginia Beach, is this in addition to EVA, or you don't, is this in addition to the EVA, you still remain in EVA, or is this just exclusively just for city of Virginia Beach type of thing? Am I making sense?
Yeah, this is exclusively for the city of Virginia Beach. So you definitely still want to be an EVA and keep up with that, because this is exclusively for the city of Virginia Beach. The city of Virginia Beach we don't put quotes and things like that on EVA. And in the past, we've never really posted the quotes and things. And so this allows us to notify all of our suppliers of those smaller solicitations and normally don't get put out on something like that. So if you're in EVA and you've been doing business there, you certainly should continue to keep your registration in EVA. They are two different things that provide two different sets of data to two different sets of people.
And when you said the smaller amounts, you're talking about the parts that the departments can do without, there's I think the amount was 5,000. I'm not saying those are
So
going
they can do, so they can do 5,000 now. The departments have that delegated authority from my office to do up to $5,000. So we're calling that their discretionary spend. So we're encouraging them to utilize SWAM vendors in our local community, and we don't have to base that on the solicitation of lowest price. And so that allows us to have much more freedom in choosing our vendors and supporting the SWAM businesses in our area. And then anything over 5,000 comes to the purchasing division, and we then do those solicitations in the system and notify our suppliers in the system and on demand store. I mean, we still put it out, but we're actively notifying those that have signed up in that supplier portal that these things are out there, which is new.
Thank you so much. I do have one question. If we can go back to the homepage, I think Stacy had mentioned that there was some data that was available on that homepage. in regards to the supplier portal. And so the data, can you share with us what that data is? What sort of data may be available? If I heard her correctly.
Yes, and this is Rebecca. I'd like to point out one thing as she goes back to that page.
Okay.
One of the things that we do need from our suppliers as they enter the system, you'll see on related information on the right-hand side of your screen where the very first document says consent to accept electronic signatures. We now have the ability to email purchase orders out to our vendors, but we need them to fill out that form and get it back to us in order to receive those electronic purchase orders. So we're trying to make it more efficient and quicker, both to get the work and to get payment for work with the city, because that's been a concern, especially with limited capital and limited liquidities, particularly with small businesses. We want to make sure that they're filling out that form as well. Now, after they sign up, we do let them know about the form, but it is available there. And I'll let Stacy discuss the remainder of information that's available on that page.
Thanks, Rebecca. So what's the other things that are available out here are some of the user guides. Manage supplier profile. If I click on it, it's going to pull up a PDF document. I wasn't sure if it was going to pull it up. So it gives them that step-by-step detail of how to fill it out. I'm just go back. There's also a frequently asked questions area that will be updated, the IRS W-9. They're all just kind of user guides. And then when they go to register as a supplier, some of those guides are repeated here. So that way they don't have to go back a screen to get to that guide, because maybe they weren't aware they needed it at that moment, so they didn't open it. So we've also put it here for them as well. And again, that managed supplier profile, those frequently asked questions, which I'll open that up really quick. And it just kind of tells them, what is the supplier portal? How do I reset my password? What are the next steps? Is those things that other companies that have deployed a supplier portal have encountered, questions that they've encountered that we've kind of taken and made them for us and how it works for us. So that's what that other data is there. And then on that supplier services page is actually the link. Once they have their supplier portal account approved, if they click on this link, it will actually take them to the application for them to log in. If I click on it now, if I were to log in as myself, it would take me to my user account for the city and information, but this is where once their account has been approved, they would go. And then this is the respond to or view solicitations. So our solicitations that have been processed through our new system show here. And this is what that screen now looks like.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, we have a question from Olga Torres. I will unmute her now.
Yes, thank you, Olga.
Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to make a comment. I think I registered. It took me a while, and for me can you hear me okay?
Yes,
I can.
So it took me a while, and I don't know if I did it correctly, because I don't think I ever finished it, because I had a difficult time with the classifications, the business services. So, I don't know where I am. I never received the confirmation, and I don't know if you can find in the system who's tried to, if you have that information, who's tried or attempted to register and was not able to finish. And I'm wondering how many people have had that issue.
This is Rebecca. I'll chime in real quick first. So you are not alone with that challenge. Okay. So we actually had to discuss it on that yesterday, and we have pulled down the sort of PDF list of all those categories to provide on that page, so that and in those guides, so that when you're looking for that category, it's easier to see it. It's all laid out there in a table, and you can figure out which categories you want to choose. So we have addressed that. I will rely on Stacy to answer the second part of the question with finding those who have partially registered and clearly had trouble.
So So we have had people reach out to us saying that they've started the registration and they couldn't find it. So depending on how they've saved it or gotten out of the system, we can see some of that detail, and we try to monitor that to the best of our ability. But I'm not going to tell you it's easy to do, because everybody, you know, not knowing how you got out of the system when you got frustrated or somebody else got out of the system, it can be problematic to see that, because until it's submitted, we can't see it fully, and that's the biggest problem. So I'm going to have to bet, Ms. Torres, that we won't see your application out there. But we do have an email address. It's here, that Supplier Portal at vbgov.com. It is monitored by quite a few people. The person that has been a huge help, Nikita, she monitors that and tries to get all the questions answered as she can, or gets the help that she can get out there. But we would be glad to help you in any way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one follow-up question to that. I think that was Stacy. I have one follow-up question to that, Stacy. Is if the individual does not complete it, like Olga mentioned with her, and she wasn't real sure where she was in the system, is there some sort of notification or something that pops up to say you must complete, or you have not completed the process, or, you know, is there something there? Because individuals may be thinking that I'm in the system.
Yeah. Yeah, my understanding, and we had a hiccup when we first launched the portal, and my understanding is it's been fixed, but until somebody tells me that it's not fixed, I don't know, is that if you save it and come back to it later, you get an email sent to you by Oracle with the information of how to get to it, how to click back to that link. When the portal first launched back in the beginning of June, that those email services weren't working properly. My understanding that has been fixed. One of the problems that we do see with this is it sends it from an Oracle email address, which potentially could go to your junk mail or your spam folders. So that's the other piece that people need to be aware of, is to be looking in those junk or spam folders to make sure it didn't get thrown into there, because it's an unusual looking email address.
I have another question since you mentioned that. And so, if in fact, I think that's problematic in itself, because of everything that's going on, nobody's going to click on or even take a look at an email. They're going to be thinking that that would come from City of Virginia Beach or purchasing or something like that. So I don't know if you all are in the process of or having discussions in regards to that. And like I said, my first question is that if I'm going in the system, I'm thinking if I completed some information, that means I have done something, unless there's a notification that I received to say your application is not complete. And then the second piece, if an email comes from something other than VBGov or whatever, City of Virginia Beach, I will not open it. And I think other people may be feeling that way. Is there something, I guess, in the works that may help to combat that issue?
This is Rebecca. So we do hear you. I think we've heard some of that on some of the other correspondence as well that has come through the system, that people were concerned or not necessarily comfortable opening something. So we are looking into that to see what we can do, and appreciate very much your comments and feedback, particularly from those of you who have tried that and from that point of view. And we will continue to look at that, and as we update that and find things that might work better, we'll keep you updated on what we're doing with that. And welcome additional feedback if you find something else that isn't working the way it should, or might be concerning from the supplier point of view. So thank you both.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I see that our Finance Director, Alice Kelly, has joined, and she has a comment or a question. And if we've already answered your question, could you please put your hand down, your virtual hand down? Thank you. And Alice?
Thank you. I really appreciate all the feedback we're getting. You know, this was a massive undertaking to get into a new financial system, and we're finding a lot of things that are working great, and then we have some things that need some improvement. And we really want to make sure our supplier portal works well. And so these comments, we do have Nikita and Keith especially that are really working on hand holding and helping out our suppliers. So if we get an email, we are calling them up and walking them through. And it is really challenging whenever you put in a new financial system, but we did it during a pandemic. And so we are really trying hard to address all the needs for our vendor communities as well as our financial community in our city. So thank you so much for all your patience and your comments and concerns, because we really like to hear those, because that will help us make a better product for everybody. One of the things that Rebecca had said is about the $5,000 and under. We do have an administrative directive, and Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, that city employees are required to look for a SWAM vendor whenever they're buying anything under $5,000. So this will, having them in the supplier portal will allow them to at least have access to make sure they know what the vendors are.
Yes, that is correct, Alice. And one of the things that this enhanced system allows us to do is very easily take a peek at how people are spending their money and look at individual departments who may not be meeting our goals as a city. And then that allows us to go in and question them and talk with them and educate them and find out why they're unable to meet those goals. So we can be proactive. And this is one of the things we had discussed as a group. Instead of waiting for our 6-month or our 1-year report to say, oh, we didn't get there, we can look at it in real time and say, you know, for the month of July, we did great, but for the month of August, we're really not doing so well. Or this particular department seems to not be using SWAM vendors. Let's go find out why. Is it an education issue? Is it we need to court more vendors in that category of business issue? So it allows us to be much more strategic and proactive to help us get these numbers where we know they can be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All righty, with that being said, we're going to move on to committee reports. I will begin with the Outreach Committee. Colleen.
Thank you, Sheila. It's so wonderful to see everyone's faces. It's been a long time. I'll just quickly jump in. As you recall, we had a tremendous amount of momentum coming out of our expo in 2019 with a theme of growth and strength through diversity and ingenuity. And I can say in times like these, it's needed even more. And so I'll recap what our chair said earlier. You know, our goals in outreach and lifting up our community of businesses and minority businesses is to share critical resources, relief, ideas, and then advocate for policy to support working in and with the city of Virginia Beach. It's both, because that is what we're working towards. And as you'll recall, as the pandemic set in, unfortunately, we had to cancel our contractors roundtable that was scheduled for spring of 2020 on April 15th. And with that being said, we have made some progress as far as opportunities for events. We've seen other groups go virtually, and we have a big decision to make as a group, because now is the time for us to commit to our November 5th event. And we have to really look, all of us owning outreach, and what that looks like for our community and business community. And as we took a look from our committee, it's really difficult for us to work in isolation to decide what the right moves are moving forward. There are a couple of things that we need to think about. What is the greatest need that we're seeing from the business community now, and how we prepare them for not only the challenges that they're facing now, but in the future, and how this pandemic has impacted them. What is the type of event or type of information that they need to have access to that is going to be delivered to them in a timely fashion that they can come back to? How are the budget cuts that we're experiencing as a city impacting that? We want to make sure we're making wise investments because so many other things in looking at the budget have been impacted, that we want to make sure we're making good choices about how we get this information out there in the best way. And then most importantly, our safety protocols that have to be in place. We are still in a certain phase, and we're not sure when we're going to get out of that phase as far as how many people can come to an event, what the safety level and comfort level is come November. And so we'll quickly have to make a decision, because the contract has been requested if we choose to do an in-person event for November. But we as a group from outreach would really like to, if you look at the notes that we sent out, times have changed. How can we best support our business community? We'd like to evaluate what type of support is needed right now, not in a vacuum, but talking to businesses, even if that involves creating an online survey for the folks that are registered in our Eventbrite and publishing that through our awareness team to make sure that we're getting good feedback. Even as MBC businesses, members ourselves, reaching out to at least 10 to 15 businesses at different levels to see what's needed and wanted and how we can best support them. And then work on a strategic plan with our MBC members to come up with what does the future look like for this year, short term, and start planning for longer term. But it is coming up on us, so we're going to have to make a critical decision on whether we can have an in-person event. I've spoken to many people who are running events. I understand where their comfort level is, but I don't want to bring any bias. But more than anything, I want this to be an open dialogue in the short amount of time that we have, and an action plan for who would be willing to help the outreach committee come up with what that looks like, so that we can collectively as a group work towards it rather than us working in a silo. So that's the major point that I'd like to talk about. If we have another 2 minutes, I have included a census update. As you can imagine, in a significant time where the census impacts our city financially, the pandemic impacted our ability to have a thorough census. But if you will take the time to read through the information that's provided here, the city of Virginia Beach actually was able and is still working and able to have some really good results. And the highlight being that on July 28th, our region broke out of its slow growth cycle, returned to number growth at 0.4 percentage points per week. The region has kept pace with the Commonwealth and the nation. We've reached 69.5% retained and improved both national categorical rankings. So you'll see many summaries that are attached to this for those of you who are interested, but hats off to the census team locally and nationally that they were able to continue getting this much needed census data back so that we can all benefit. So if it's okay with the group, I'd love a suggestion from our chair and vice chair on how you would like us to best work as a committee to make sure that we're thinking through all of the challenges that we have in bringing and providing our two main priorities to the minority business community. I'd love to get some feedback if that's possible quickly.
Right, Colleen, real quickly, thanks so much for all of the information that you provided, very thorough. One of the things that I have been thinking through, and like I said, a lot of events have been canceled, in-person events.
Yes.
COVID-19 and state mandates.
Yes.
Dictated what those events would look like and what the capacity will be. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're hearing in the news now is that we can expect the numbers may spike when the fall comes. Uh-huh. And so because of that, I'm very concerned about even putting the energy towards moving to an in-person expo. That's just very difficult to do. And even if we do have an in-person expo, I don't know how many people would feel comfortable with being in an environment with others right now. And so my thought is that if we're going to do an expo in the fall, two things really. If we're going to do an expo in the fall, that it would be a virtual event, meaning that we would utilize a Zoom or whatever platform we choose to, and we condense it to be no more than an hour based on what your survey or what your feedback is saying that is needed by businesses. So number one, if it is virtual, if we do have it, it's virtual, and that it is condensed to no more than an hour, because nobody's gonna stay online no more than that. And to make sure that it's impactful, meaning that it provides information, detail, et cetera, that is needed by the businesses that we serve. The second piece is that if we say, no, we're not going to do the expo in the fall, we don't want to move to virtual, we may want to consider possibly the spring. What the data is saying at this particular point is the spring may be a better time for face-to-face. But once again, we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what the capacity may be. We don't know. I mean, COVID really is driving everything.
Absolutely.
And so those are my two thoughts. Olga, do you have any thoughts as it relates to the expo?
Yes, I thank you so much, Sheila, and thank you, Colleen, for your report and the opportunity to have a conversation. I agree that a lot of things are being canceled, a lot of events are being canceled, so we should not be looking at getting together in person in the fall. However, I think it's really important to take this time to help empower some of the smaller businesses, because as you have just said, Sheila, COVID has impacted and changed so many things, but there are also a lot of people, it just occurred to me, there are also a lot of people registering businesses, trying to, reinvent themselves. And it just made a note to myself here is how many businesses have registered for the city of Virginia Beach recently that are minority owned businesses, and how many of those would be qualifiable to get their certifications and their DVEs in order, so that when it's time to really get busy, they are prepared to take advantage of those opportunities. So I would present that there might be a good opportunity to maybe do the small business owners kind of startup sessions online, and that way you can present them. And if there is an opportunity, like for example, the HRBT expansion, if there's opportunities there to bring in and to share more information and maybe have a special presentation for companies that have the capacity to participate, then we can maybe present something special, for this particular company, and if we can host that ourselves as the NBC.
So it sounds like finding ways that we can provide value, whether it's one event or a trickle of events that we have, would be important to make sure that we continue to meet our two major goals of impacting the business community, and that I can count on, as well as our outreach team could count on, the entire Minority Business Council coming together and providing some ideas for what that might look like, so that we can start creating what that could be.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say, absolutely correct, Colleen. What I would say is you and your committee, you all, based on the information that we provided on today, sort of get together and come up with a plan and share with us what you all believe that plan is. Mm-hmm. But like I said, not in person. I think we're all on the same page with that. If it is virtual in the fall, it has to be impactful, and it is based on what the needs are of the business community. And so we'll look for you and the outreach committee mm-hmm. to share with us or provide an update at the next meeting, and then we'll know how to move forward.
So if I could throw a request out to the entire Minority Business Council, because again, sometimes working in a silo doesn't help us get the diversity of thought and ingenuity. Could I have everyone commit to sending me about 5 or 6 ideas by next Wednesday that would help our committee get together? Because all of you are out speaking to a number of different businesses, you're in a number of different fields, and I really feel like now is the time for us to come together as a council and use all of our great ideas, and then we as an outreach committee can put them down in paper. But I'm really counting on everyone, because again, I'm yes, we're a construction and engineering firm, but my interaction is here in the office and I'm not out meeting in public. And my best result is reaching out to some businesses that I know of to speak of them, but I have, I want to make sure I'm empowering everyone to please share from whether it's an industry or other groups that you've been in Zoom meetings with, of where are our opportunities to best serve, and then we can come back as a committee and share what that looks like, if that works for everyone.
Sure. What I would ask you to do, Colleen, based on your request, if you could craft an email, send that to Lavera so that she can send out to everyone and include
Absolutely.
Your deadline on that.
You got it.
All righty.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Excellent.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. Francis, Minority Awareness.
Good afternoon to everybody, and thank you to our chair. I want to, first of all, certainly say on behalf of the MBC and myself and MAC committee, we certainly do offer our deepest condolences for your loss. I know you may have already received something and, all of that, but you are in our hearts, and we've all, gone through the loss. We know the pain. So we certainly keep you in our prayers.
Thank you.
We love you and we're there for you. We're there for you. I do want to give you my report. I had developed the report for the March meeting. Listen to this now. I had developed the report for the March meeting. I had it in my notes. I had everything prepared. And so I went to do the meeting for today, and I overwrote the March notes, and I lost all my data for March because I replaced this data. Okay, so I'm not that tech smart. Okay, so I'll admit it. But
That's COVID. That's COVID.
Okay, that was COVID. Okay. Yes. So let me just start with talking about our social media presence that is still managed and maintained by Chiquita Clark Thompson. She still is managing our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and our Instagram. At this point, as of today, we have 1,581 likes and 1,739 followers. Now, when you say followers, I think that means that they get our posts, but they haven't necessarily liked our page. So that still means that information is getting out to even greater audience out there, as opposed to about 1,550 that we had back in March. So we have stepped it up a bit, even through the pandemic and the time that we've been away from having our meetings. On Twitter, we have increased by about 4 or 5. We picked up a few Twitter followers from 82 in March to 86 today. And Instagram, we had 336 followers in March and 352 followers today. So we still are, little by little, we are increasing our social media presence, and I am very proud of that. We did, in my meeting notes for March, we had said that we wanted to change our handle for our social media to my VBMBC. So you will go to, whether you go to Twitter or Instagram, you will find my VBMBC. You can find all of our posts under that handle, and those are the hashtags also. So we wanted to keep it consistent. We use those as hashtags and as our social media handle, and I think we all agreed that we wanted to do that. So during the pandemic, the social media pages really just posted meeting cancellations. We posted COVID-19 resources, as well as information about the new VB Supplier Portal. So unfortunately, in-person MAC committee meetings were suspended. Arrangements are going to be made now for us to be able to have virtual meetings beginning next month, September 2020. So we've not been meeting as a committee in person, but we will, now that we have permission to do that, we can start meeting virtually. I wanted to bring forward an idea as well, that one of the goals, of course, is to promote diversity in the business community and while monitoring new and current businesses and economic development within the city. I would like to see us to collaborate with Kempsville High School and the Entrepreneurship and Business Academy as we start to recruit, SWAM businesses and young entrepreneurs as MBC members and associates. I really think young people have a lot to add, and they need to get into this concept of leadership and be introduced into what it means to be a minority business and how they can help and influence others and bring them in. So I would like to get some of your ideas and your thoughts about us collaborating with the school, the high school. They may have young entrepreneurs who would be interested in attending our meetings or maybe even becoming an associate. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that at some point. I do want to say thank you to all the MAC members. I know you're faithful. Some of you have been asking about meetings, and I really appreciate everything that you've done. Of course, to Lavera and Keith and Nikita, always supporting and always being there to help me collaborating. So I appreciate all of that. But I would like to hear your idea, Sheila, about, and Olga, about maybe reaching out to the academy over at Kempsville that's for entrepreneurship and business, that perhaps maybe we can, you know, merge in with them and see what they have, what their young people are thinking.
I actually think that's a great idea, Francis. I think Kemp's High School has come to some of our events. Maybe it was the expo, I'm not real sure. I do know that Virginia Beach schools will be starting, my understanding is online in the fall.
Yes.
And so what I think is a great idea. What I would suggest is for you to sort of reach out to the director or someone over the program and find out. I would like to know if they have a component in their curriculum as it relates to civic engagement or something of that piece that we can sort of assist them. Because it may even be internships. I think we had someone from BB Schools that came, I think, earlier in the year, and it talked about getting kids ready for the workforce, internships, those types of things. So I would say, Francis, at this point, just sort of reach out to Kempsville High School, find out what their needs are and how we could play in supporting the kids there. And then you bring it back to us, and based on the conversation that I had, these are some things that I recommend, or these are ways that we can partner, support these children.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sheila. Her name is Megan Timlin. I think she's over the academy, and I'm happy to connect with her and find out, you know, where we could partner or how we could work together to further what they're doing and how they can enhance what we're doing as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I respectfully submit my report, and good afternoon. Thank you.
I don't know if Olga had any additional
Yes,
items you wanted to add to it.
yes, you know, I think a partnership with the Kempsville students would be great, and maybe we could even create a special, you know, name for them as opposed to ambassadors, because, you know, ambassadors, we want somebody who's out there doing business, and I think if we could create something special for them, it would be a true partnership. So whether it's internship or, you know, whatever other title we want to assign to them, I think that would be ideal.
Thank you. I'm going to bring that to the whole committee, and we will all sit around the table and kind of brainstorm and get some ideas after I reach out to Megan and see what their thoughts are. So thank you very much.
I think, yeah, Megan Timlin, and I think maybe Jeff, I think probably engaged economic development as well. Jeff Smith.
Okay, I'm willing to do that. Very happy to do that. I can collaborate with him, and perhaps we'll get a virtual, you know, conference call going, and the three of us can sit around and come up with some ideas.
Sounds good. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Olga, data collection and analysis.
Oh, my turn already. I'm trying to get this lighting fixed here in the background. All right, so our expenditures, the report is as follows. Total expenditures were 490.3 million, and of that, and we're talking, let me see, July 2019 to December 2019. Okay, so we're looking at, hang on, let me go the fiscal year 2020 semi-annual report includes data from July 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. And so these numbers are the ones that are being presented. Okay. And of course, we had to, reschedule the meeting, so we were not able to provide the reports obviously due to COVID-19. So going back to the expenditures, so the total expenditures were 490.3 million, and from that, minority-owned businesses received 26.3 million, which represents a 5.4%. Women-owned businesses received 22 million, and that represents 4.5%. And service-disabled veteran-owned businesses received 1 million, or 0.2%. So obviously, we have to make some strides there. And again, these figures and percentages are based on the way we are reporting now. The total awards were as follows. Total awards were 174.5 million. And from that, minority-owned businesses received 11.3 million, which is 6.5%. Women-owned businesses received 19.3 million, which is, wow, 11.1%. And service-disabled veteran-owned businesses received 692,900, which is 0.4%. So as you can see on the award, from the award spectrum, we're already seeing some improvement there. These numbers, of course, dollars versus awards. These numbers are for the first 6 months of fiscal year 2020, and the full report can be found on the NBC webpage. There were 16 new businesses that received contract awards. 9 were minority-owned businesses, and 7 were women businesses. And these businesses were listed as available firms from the 2018 disparity study. And that's it in a nutshell. Thank you so much to the team, Lavera and everyone, for providing the information. This is exciting, to be able to share this information, even though, things are the way they are.
Thank you so much, Olga. And as Olga said, this information, the reporting is on the web, so you'll be able to access it. So if in fact we need to move forward with virtual meetings moving forward, we'll make sure we have those reports projected. Thank you so much, Olga. Let's see, we're going to move to, is it policy? Calvin?
All right. Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. I had some technical challenges to get started. So here's a update from policy. Circle June 16th, last June 16th on your calendar, because that was the very, very busy day for policy. 5 different initiatives, ordinances were signed by the mayor related to our business development, and they're all on the NBC webpage. If you go down to the SWAM business office on our page, business development initiatives, they're all there. There was ordinance signed on our sheltered bidding program, so that our construction services bidding up to 500,000, goods and services up to 100,000 are a part of that program. Our small business enhancement program, an initiative also to direct the city manager to have a local certification of our SWAM businesses. And all of these are in line with the disparity study goals. This next month, setting an aspirational goal for women and women-owned businesses and service disabled-owned businesses. We've always had our aspirational goal. We increased it to 12% based on the disparity study. Now we actually have set aspirational goals for our women businesses as well as our service disabled veteran-owned businesses. And then the last one that was signed was a project goals program, setting project minimums for participation in our contracting. And really, thanks to Alice and Rebecca for keeping these things forward. And of course, Rod and Dana and our legal team. And I'll just step aside and see if Rebecca wants to add anything additional about these different initiatives.
Well, I will. we were so excited to get them passed and see them come to fruition, as far as enabling us to do these things. As we're getting going with the new financial system, you know, it's a slow start, and we're finally getting some solicitations out there. But what I can tell you is we already have multiple solicitations that we have identified for the sheltered bidding, both for goods and services and in construction. So we know we will have a full construction project that is sheltered bid. So we know a SWAM business will get that work, and that's exciting for us. We also have some enhanced subcontracting solicitations already identified as they're coming through. So we're super excited, not only that these ordinances have passed, but since you have met last, we have instituted those programs and they are moving along, and we are identifying those solicitations, and we'll do quarterly reports on these to council. So we'll obviously be updating you as well on a regular basis of how these are doing and compared to our other numbers, and so we can monitor these programs and see if they're working the way we intended.
Okay. Madam Chair, that concludes, I think, our policy report. And I certainly want to say this is our diversity study results in action. Having these number of initiatives all signed and enacted at one time, I think sends a clear message to our community, to our contractors, that this disparity study, long fought, was well worth it, and it's not sitting on a shelf somewhere. There's actual things being enacted from that diversity study. So that is just the most effective use of that tool in action seen from these 5 different initiatives signed. So compliments to the mayor and council and to our liaisons for pushing these things forward.
Thank you, Calvin. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for chiming in as well. We're going to move into staff report. Rebecca?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair and council members, it's a pretty exciting one this time. Olga and Kelvin stole a little of my thunder. But I will say that, Olga, what I'd like to point out on the report you gave is that 26.3 million in city contracting for minority-owned businesses has exceeded the FY19 amount to minority-owned businesses by almost $6 million.
Wow.
Yeah, we're pretty excited.
Thunder right there, okay?
Yeah. $6 million. So what we're doing is working, and it's exciting to see better numbers. Our staff did conduct webinars. Thank you, Lavera, Keith, and Nikita. Webinars in June and July for the new supplier portal, with many SWAM businesses reaching out, telling them that was out there, explaining how it was what it was gonna look like before it launched, and then walking them through it afterward. And in those sessions, they included an overview of all these new ordinances and resolutions, so that our community, our supplier community out there, is starting to learn of these things and learn what we're doing. And hopefully those that maybe in the past had tried to get business and didn't and gave up will come back and give us another shot. So that's our proactive move there. As Kelvin said, we adopted many ordinances on June 16th, as well as some new aspirational goals. The business certification program, the local SWAM certification, is well underway. Again, heavy lift for Lavera, Nikita, and Keith, along with the legal team who helped us out, Dana and team. We have the applications. We have let the city council know what's out there. The website is coming together, and we will be starting to take applications in around the 1st of September. So that will be an exciting time for us to start making that piece of this strategy we have come through. So it's been a heavy lift, but it's exciting things. They're things that we've wanted to do for a very long time. So thank you all for your support and your patience in helping us get here. I think we're going to start bringing back better and better news every time we have numbers, and I have to refrain from squealing. It's looking good.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you so much, everyone, for your dedication and hard work. We're going to move to Colleen in regards to 2020 census report. Do you have anything else that you'd like to provide?
I think that's great. There's a very thorough recap, and rather than use our great time, I'd much rather hear from what folks we have left, since we're running a little tight. So I'm going to allow folks to read what's in the outreach report.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to move to the Minority Business Commission. Damon or Ed, I think Damon was on the line. Damon, can you provide us an update?
Absolutely, I can. First, I just want to start off by saying it's a very long time, so it's refreshing to see everybody's face, to say the least. We did happen to have a meeting today. In that meeting, a couple things were established. We had a little virtual roundtable. Was saying there were a few things that they were having problems with, so that that's my my email to you, Colleen, assist with. As four of the House members, so those four names are as follows: Delegate Jason Myers, Delegate Luke Torian, Delegate Kelly Fowler, and then Delegate Suhas Subramaniam. From what we were told, they also selected 4 of the citizens representatives for the House, but I was unable to get those names. So it still will be another 4 citizens for the House being selected, and then they have the full Senate being selected. But all in all, we're definitely looking forward to seeing how they utilize this commission. Feedback from Virginia Beach Minority Council is welcome and encouraged, because they do say consistently that they model it after our form, so that's definitely respectable. And that's pretty much it as far as my report goes on that.
Thank you so much, Damon. And Damon, thank you so much for representing the Virginia Beach Minority Business Council on today. I know that they put you on the spot. They had some questions, and I'm pretty sure that you delivered. So thank you so much for representing us so well, and thank you so much for the information that you provided on today.
And thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you, Lavera, as well, because she assisted in that. It was a great call, to say the least. It was definitely a great call.
Thank you so much. Any questions, anyone? Okay, we're going to move to economic development report. Is Jeff on the line?
Madam Chair, this is Lavera. In the absence of Jeff Smith, he did ask me to share just one little bit of information with the Minority Business Council, and that is the economic development. They're currently working on the disbursement of the EDIP Part 3 program grants, Part E program grants, and the EDIP stands for Economic Development Investment Program. They were having businesses apply for grants through economic development, and I believe it was up to $10,000. So they are very busy and now dispersing those funds.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lavera. Do we have any liaisons on the line? Is Council Member Aaron Rouse or Louis Jones on the line?
Hello.
Hi, Councilman Rouse. How are you?
Doing well. How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Now that we see your face.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. I know everyone has already sent their condolences as well to you, Sheila, and your family. I just want to express my condolences as well to you and let you know we're here with you. So just wanted to let you know that. From council standpoint, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. From a council standpoint, we have been very. I like to think we have been busy, but I know there's a lot more work that we can accomplish. But one of the focus as your liaison has been making sure that our minority businesses and SWAM businesses can find a way to sustain themselves throughout COVID. I know we just mentioned the EDIP program in which businesses can apply for grants up to $10,000. But one of the things that we try to make sure that those funds go particularly to small businesses, and so small businesses can take advantage of that. Also, I think it's really important that we think about coming out of COVID or post-COVID, so to speak, even though there are thoughts or concerns about a second round of the pandemic hitting us. I'm interested to see what the numbers look like after our summer tourist season comes to an end. But nevertheless, we still have a lot of work to be done to keep our businesses afloat. One of the things I've been working with personally outside of council is I've been speaking with Senator Mark Warner. He's been doing a lot of work to make sure that within the second round of the CARES Act, that their funds particularly go to those small businesses. I know in the first round of the CARES Act, it was kind of a free for all, right? And a lot of the mom and pops, real small businesses were left out, as well as those minority businesses. And so this go around, been working with him. I'm interested to see how the second CARES Act, whenever they can find some type of agreement, whenever they can get that agreement done. But what does that do for minority and SWAM businesses within our community? That's pretty much. Oh yeah, by the way, we hired our new city managers on. And so Mr. Patrick Duhaney, he's a really, really sharp guy. He has a background in SWAM business and economic development. As soon as we can get our type of consistency back in meeting, I want to make sure I bring him to council and have you all introduced to him, and you can meet him as well and ask all the important questions you may have. The ordinances, I think we went over that. Also, I wanted to give just a little shout out to Lavera as well and Jeff for just the work they have constantly been doing, making sure the NBC, everyone is staying connected, that we understand and we are informed on what's going on. And so I just want to take that time to thank those two as well. And to thank the rest of council. I know everyone during this pandemic, you all have personal lives also, and you have businesses also that you are fighting to keep afloat, and you're finding ways to adapt and keeping some type of revenue coming in. And so to get on this call today, it shows your commitment to our minority business community here in Virginia Beach. And I just want to say thank you for your commitment as well. And I look forward to continuing working with you all. And this year, I know the expo again is a little later this year. I think we can put our heads together to find some type of way to make sure it is successful again as it was last year. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We certainly appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. I don't know if it's behind the scenes or not, but all the work that you're doing and to ensure that the NBC remains relevant. We appreciate all the work that you're doing. Thanks so much. We're going to move to school board. Is Dr. Lakeisha on?
Madam Chair, it's Lavera. I do not see her as an attendee or a panelist.
Okay, thank you so much, Lavera. One of the things before we close out, well, a couple of things. Of course, COVID-19 has disrupted a number of items, in particular, the NBC's calendar. One of the things, Rod, I'm hoping that you can help us or help me with this. We usually have a nomination committee that is selected or that is in place. I believe it's right around the spring of the year. Because of COVID, we were not able to get that on the calendar. Should we have a meeting with you, or how do you recommend that we move forward with that, Rod?
I think you and I should talk, but for the benefit of the group, I think our conversation is going to end up with you appointing a nominating committee. And we're going to follow the sequence of events that we always do. We're just going to do it later in the year. Ordinarily, this would, the appointments would be 2 months before the June meeting. And then in June, we would have our election. Because of COVID, that wasn't possible. The officers who were elected last June will continue to serve until the MBC elects the new officers. But I will work with Sheila and Lavera to do the steps we need to take so there can be a vote for the next slate of officers.
Thank you so much, Rod. We really appreciate all that you do for us as well. And so before we close, I just want to, at the bottom of the agenda, I'm sorry.
I had a quick question before we close, before I forget it.
Oh, sure. Christina?
Since Rod was right there, and it was actually circling back to Colleen's report, talking about what we're going to do in the future since we're in this digital divide and everybody, sharing their thoughts. But to Rod, I know we've had this conversation before. I'm glad that we're using WebEx, but before we even start brainstorming on options, particularly with digital engagement, is there any way you can let us know what we can't do? Like, my assumption is the city can't do Zoom. The city can only use this platform. What is our position on Facebook groups or doing other digital engagement in terms of connectivity to bridge that gap of, us serving our folks? So before we start brainstorming, I want to know what we can work with.
That is very logical. I think it would be helpful if you were to give me a call. Since I'm not in the office, this is the second person I've said give me a call. So let me give y'all my cell number. It's 831-5784. And I will tell you that the reason the city uses WebEx is because we've purchased a corporate license to WebEx, and that corporate license enables us to have lots of people. And the Zoom platform, I do acknowledge, has some advantages over WebEx. But if you don't have a paid Zoom account, there's a limitation on the number of people that you can bring in for certain types of events. So, Francina, let's you and I talk about the logistics. Can we make WebEx work for this? If we can't, it's possible to do Zoom. But one of the other nice things about WebEx is the city's IT staff is fully versed in how it works and can give us the technical support that staff needs on WebEx. Whereas with Zoom, kind of on your own.
Okay, thanks. We'll do.
So much. Thank you, Francina, for bringing up that. Thank you so much. And one of the things I do want to mention is in regards to your volunteer form, you will receive that document via email. And I think, Lavera, you'll get that out after the call. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And you'll have information in there as to what your deadline is for us to return it.
Yes. Keith is actually going to send that out.
Okay. Will it be a fillable document, Lavera, or is that something that we need to print out, scan back in, and send back to you?
We have made the document fillable. So it is a fillable document. And Rod, there was no signature ever required on the volunteer form. It was just their name at the top, the printed name, and the hours that they actually fulfilled in each of those areas. So I think we're okay with the fillable.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you so much. And before we close out, I just want to say once again, thank you so much, not only to city staff, and Lord knows, Lavera, you've been a lifesaver, to Rod as well, to Councilman Rouse. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for your support. but also the NBC members. I truly appreciate you all. And I say all the time, look, I'm just the chair, we're a team. And that's the reason that we have been so successful at this particular point. So I appreciate each of you. I think there are a few things that need to be emailed out, some brainstorming that needs to take place, some expectations of each of us, because I think we said it multiple times on the call, is that even though we may serve on a particular committee, it's going to take all of us to ensure that we are successful, and we want to ensure that we continue to protect our brand, and we want to continue to move the needle. And so with that being said, I appreciate all of you all. And I think it's 4:24. We did it. Have a great Friday. The sun has come out again. And so enjoy, but not too much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone, thank you.
God bless. Take care.
Stay safe.
Everybody stay safe.
Good job.
I don't know how to leave the meeting. Oh, here it is. I was just trying to figure out how to leave the meeting.